Have you ever nearly escaped an accident? You've been there before? I know it's a silly question because if you live in a major metropolitan area and you drive, you probably nearly escaped an accident this week, right? Some of you saying yes. So if some of you do not drive that often and it's been a little while for you, even if you've done it once, you probably remember the feeling. It's something quite intense. You're feeling this sense of imminent danger. And just as it's happening, you're realizing it's happening. Something terrible is about to occur. And there's nothing you can do to stop it because there's no time. And all of a sudden, there is something that happens and you just do not end up in an accident. Whatever was supposed to occur does not occur. By somehow, some miraculous force, we know what that force is, right? It doesn't happen. And you avert that accident in the last very fraction of a second. Now, you know the feeling that you would be feeling at that moment. It's a feeling of relief. Your whole entire body just tensed up into one ball of muscle in a fraction of a second, and now all of a sudden, everything is okay. And you feel like, okay, it didn't happen. And you feel this incredible, tremendous sense of relief. Now, the reason why I bring up this sensation that some of you have experienced, some maybe very recently, is because I think this is how Jacob felt in this parsha. I think he had a moment where his entire body got really tense, where things were very, very difficult for him. The only difference is that for Jacob, this was not some sudden and unexpected roadside fender bender situation. Oh my goodness, so-and-so is going to about crash into me. This was a very different type of danger for him. He saw it. He saw it coming. Once Jacob resolved to head back to his homeland from Haran, he knew that the conflict with Esau will be inevitable. He knew it was coming. He knew he would have to face his brother. So he feared. He feared for him, for his entire family. And this is what he prayed in Genesis 32:12. Jacob said, Hatzileni na miyad achi. Deliver me, please, from the hand of my brother. We just read these words from the Parsha. Why did he pray that? Well, because he needed deliverance. You see, Jacob was gripped with terror. He was paralyzed by what might happen when he encounters Esau once again. The questions that were running through his mind, I'm sure, said something like, will Esau be furious with me? Will he see me as an enemy, trying now to take even more from him? Will he seek vengeance for what I've done to him, even before, for all the pain that I've caused? This is what's running through his mind. Jacob did not know how this reunion with Esau would go. You and I read these words, and yes, to us, it's history because we know how the story goes. But imagine being Jacob in that moment. You do not know. And of course, his mind is racing and is going to the worst case scenario. He's afraid that Esau is angry, that he would want to kill him, that he would want to take vengeance on his family. So he imagines the worst, yet he does not get deterred. He knows that his family's destiny is not in Haran, it's in Canaan. And so, despite of his fear, he returns to the land of promise. Now, there are many lessons that we can derive from the story of Yaakov for our personal lives today. There's so many angles that we can read this from. And I want to direct your attention today to his reaction. A reaction to a very stressful, very dangerous, and potentially deadly situation. Now, Jacob prayed, and he asked God for deliverance. That would right away we see how he reacts in a moment of stress. And that's something we can take away at that very moment. Why did he ask for deliverance? And he could have asked God for all kinds of things. He could have been very specific. But no, he just asked, deliver me, Lord. Deliverance because, honestly, he knew he was in trouble. And he knew that this trouble was his to face. The danger was imminent, and the danger was to him, and the danger was not just to him, but to his family now. This is the trouble that he created for himself many, many years ago. But now he had to face this. And though he escaped the responsibility of dealing with this issue for quite a while, living with his relatives in Haran, now he finally had to face his brother and face that trouble. So yes, he was afraid, but he did not back down and he did not turn back. And from that, we can derive a few more lessons. When you know that you are heading towards trouble, or trouble is heading towards you, take either one. Ask Hashem for deliverance. There are 3 lessons that I want to offer you today about what does it mean to ask for deliverance and how we should be doing it. Asking for deliverance, lesson number 1, is an act of dependence upon God. That's what we're saying when we're asking, Lord, deliver us. Now, we should be able to admit when we can't handle something on our own. Well, some of us have trouble, I know that. Self-reliance is a good quality most of the time. But it's also good to know when you're facing something so overwhelming that you need to ask God for help. It's good to realize that. Now, if you are an independent person, and you know who you are, if you're sitting out there listening to me, you probably try everything yourself first, and then, in the end, when everything else fails, ask God. Okay? Now, Jacob kind of did that, but in reverse. I don't know if you realize this or not. He did it the other way. He actually first said, Lord, deliver me. He prayed. And then he set up the caravans just so, in order to butter up to his brother Esau. Now you realize that. He did do that, but completely in the reverse. Maybe we can learn from that. Maybe we can do these things in reverse too. If you are an independent person out there, I'm speaking to you. Lesson number 2. Asking for deliverance is an act of sincerity. Now, we should be able to admit what we do has consequences. We should be able to say that. If we create conflicts, and those conflicts, they can turn on us eventually. They can cause pain, even sometimes many, many years later, the conflicts we stir up can continue to dish out pain and sorrow. And we have to be honest about that. We did it. If we hurt people, they will want to hurt us back. And there will be moments when you will feel vulnerable. In fact, there will be opportunities and chances for them to hurt you. And we have to own that. We can't be on guard. We can't be on standby every single moment in our lives waiting for retaliation to come. And it can come at any moment. We can't live our lives like that. We need help to turn things around. So asking for deliverance from Hashem makes total sense. That's why Jacob asked for deliverance. He knew that what he did to Esau was low. So we should be sincere in owning our misdeeds as well. Third lesson about asking for deliverance is asking for deliverance is also an act of courage. We should be able to admit our fears. Having something precious in your life and being afraid to lose it is not bad. Fear is not a weakness. Fear is not always bad. It shows to us what we truly value it tells us, it defines what we really care for. Jacob was afraid that his entire family was about to get slaughtered. That's what he had. That was the most precious thing he had. So he arranged them just so, putting wives and children way, way in the back of the caravan. So he had the courage. The risk was very real to him. And he found the courage and faith to act on God's promises because he knew that going back was not an option. He had to make up with his brother. So courage, by the way, is not an absence of fear, if you think about it. It's actually being afraid and doing it anyway. That's what courage is. Jacob was afraid. Jacob was terrified to face his brother. He asked God for deliverance because he needed aid in the midst of a volatile and risky situation. So having something to risk actually, friends, brings us closer to Hashem. Perhaps we can understand that and lean on that too. Now, every time we recite the words of Messiah, and we do this together corporately every week, we say, Tatzilenu min hara. Remember that phrase? We recite it every week. Deliver us from evil. May we continue to show our dependence on God as we ask for deliverance. May we do so sincerely, and may we never lose courage as we walk this life of faith each and every day.